Live with the community. This is the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform Development Biweekly Call. Today is July 20th. Where is this year going? It is flying by, but hey, what do they say? Time flies when you're having fun, and we are having fun as a community. So let's talk about what we're going to talk about. We're going to get the latest updates on the community. We're going to see some updates on PNP.NET libraries, PowerShell, the latest on Yo Teams, Teams Toolkit, Graph Toolkit, independent publisher connectors, and then we got a plethora of samples, script samples, Microsoft Teams samples, Power Platform samples, all the samples, all the time, all here. And our favorite time, picture time with Together Mode. And then we're going to have our three amazing presenters of the day. Nicolò is going to cover leveling up your Power Apps canvas with enhanced component properties. Michał is going to cover Power Automate Chrome extension. And then, of course, our lovable and one and only Chris Kent is here to wow us with his equestrian wonders of list formatting tips and tricks. But first, let's talk about some resources that are available to each and every one of you in the community. We got so many resources. Videos, and we got discussion groups, and we got open source projects like CLI for Microsoft 365, PNP.JS. We got sample galleries, as I mentioned, so many samples, team samples, SPFX web parts, extensions, Power Platform samples, list formatting samples, script samples, all the samples, all the time, all here for you. All you got to do is memorize every one of these URLs forever. Just kidding. One URL, aka.ms/community/home, will give you access to all of this goodness that is available to you all day long. Now, you were on this call because you like community calls, right? Well, we got some more for you. Microsoft 365 and Power Platform community calls cover a full gamut of information for you. The Microsoft 365 and Power Platform Microsoft-only speakers, I do have too much coffee, I guess. Weekly with Microsoft speakers only. Now, this is on a summer break. We're going to be back on August 22nd. This is Tuesday, every Tuesday, available to you at 8 a.m. We've also got our Power Platform monthly call, which just occurred yesterday. So 1 month from yesterday, you're going to be able to watch some more amazing Power Platform goodness, our Office add-ins, and then, of course, our sibling calls, Microsoft 365 and Power Platform Community Development Call, which you're on right now, and the Viva Connections and SharePoint Framework, which will happen next week. You can get access to all of these calls at ak.ms/community/calls. Now, you may be wondering, these are awesome presenters today. How can I present on this call? You are more than welcome. All you got to do is go to ak.ms/community/request/demo, fill in the form, let us know what you want to talk about, and we'll get you scheduled. Don't overthink this, everybody. It is absolutely okay to come on, share a favorite feature, a tip, a trick, anything that you find relevant and valuable. I guarantee the rest of the community will. And if you've not presented before and it's your first time, don't worry. We got your back. Let us know you want a buddy, and we'll hook you up with a member of the community, a member of the MVP community, or a member of this team to work together with you and co-present. So that way you'll come in feeling comfortable and confident and ready to rock it out. So don't hesitate, everybody. Go fill in this form and let us know that you want to contribute. You are more than welcome. Now, as I mentioned, that Microsoft 365 and Power Platform Microsoft Speakers Only call is on break until the 22nd of August, but every other call, because you're here now, you must know that, is still on. So all the Thursday calls, the monthly Power Platform calls, all still good to go. So don't hesitate. Now, you may be wondering, I want to get more involved in these cool samples and I'm going to see all about. I'm not quite sure how to do that, though. Hugo, tell us more.
Well, if you're interested, we have something called Sharing is Caring, and it's a safe place where you can actually participate. It's never recorded. It's a small group, and it's hands-on. So we actually get to do, for example, our first pull request together in GitHub. We have a few sessions going on, but the next one coming up is the Power Platform Sample Contributor. So if you'd like to create a cool sample and like to show your Power Platform skills, you should definitely sign up at ak.ms/sharing-is-caring. And we will actually host the call now that's actually hosted on Teams webinars. So we hope to see you there. Woohoo! And then once you've contributed, what happens, David?
I think they get a little something. What's a little something they get, Hugo?
Once they have contributed, you actually get a badge, and it's a badge from Credly, the same Credly folks who are, if you're an MVP or if you used to have Microsoft certifications, they used to give you badges. Well, we have cool badges as well, and they are badges that recognize. If I could speak today, what would I say? badges that recognize your contributions in the community. We are super happy to have you, and you can definitely share these badges with people to show that you know your stuff and that you are valuable to the community. We look forward to having you. Go to ak.ms/community/recognition.
Awesome. Thank you, Hugo. Yep. And we got more badges coming soon with thematic fun themes for hackathons, even more coming up. So stay tuned, everybody. We just upped our subscription with them, so we got lots of opportunities. All right, let's get into some project-specific updates, and we'll hand it over to Bert for .NET.
Thank you, David. In the .NET world, our two libraries, PNP Framework, PNP Corsica, were a bit in a summer mode, I would say. So not that much happened. Paul is still working on documentation for Framework. And on the Corsica side, Daniel Pastor did an improvement around site provisioning. So we have a pretty neat way to provision site collections, no matter which type of site collection you want, whether app-only or delegated. And now when you create a site collection using with a group, so a model and team site, then we use Graph for both approaches, delegated and app-only, giving you more options to, for example, pick the language and these things. Furthermore, there was an issue with graph paging if you were using a non-default cloud tenant. So if your tenant lived in a US government cloud or a German cloud or China cloud, it was broken. That's fixed now with some other very smaller fixes. Overall, I think that's it. So pretty quiet, but there is progress. And over to PowerShell now with Gautam. Thank you all.
Awesome. Thank you, Bert.
Thanks, David. Thanks, Bert. In PNP PowerShell, PNP PowerShell is a PowerShell module that you can use to interact with various Microsoft 365 services like Azure AD, Teams, SharePoint, PNP Power Platform, and so much more. So the latest version is 2.2.0, which is out a couple of weeks back. And what we have done in the past couple of weeks is we added a new commandlet, which is called Export PNP Power App. So you can use that to export a Power App as a zip package and download that locally. Besides that, a bunch of other commands such as set PNP tenant command had a new parameter called allowed comments text on email enabled, and we also improved add PNP content type to list, PNP user profile property, and the export term group to XML commandlets. And we also had a minor regression in this register PNP Azure AD app, so you could use that app to create an Azure AD app inside, and there was some issue with that, so we fixed that. And yep, that was pretty much in the past 2 weeks. Besides that, we'd absolutely love to hear from you. So do check out our discussion forum as well as the issue list. And yep, that's pretty much from my end. Over to you, David.
Awesome. Thank you, Gautam. Well, it's yo time. What time? Yo Teams time. So let's talk with Rick.
Hey. So as Bert already mentioned, we see it in our downloads as well. It's summertime mode is going on, so the downloads are a little bit going down. Also, the issues and fixes are a little bit in the summer vacation mode. We did fix some invalid HTML, thanks to API. And we're also working on the V5 already, so more info to come on that one. We're brainstorming on that one. And of course, we're always looking for people to help us out. If you are willing to help to contribute to your teams or to the build or deploy, then you're always welcome. Just look in the docs, look in the issue list, and see what you can do to help us out. Back to you, David.
Awesome. Thank you, Rick. Let's move on to Teams Toolkit with John Miller. John
for
Miller.
VS Code. Can you hear me?
Yeah, there we go.
Okay. I felt like I was talking. Okay, 5.1 pre-release for VS Code is out today. I put a couple bullet points here. You can read through those, but some small features, but it's mostly some quality of life improvements and some bug fixes for the pre-release. And then we are also full steam ahead on working on the Teams Toolkit for VS. So 17.7 will hopefully be where we can GA that experience. So you can work through the previews and see some of the changes we've been doing there, but the idea is to bring a lot of the parity from the VS Code extension over to the VS experience for .NET developers. And some other things, if you want to share feedback, we enabled GitHub discussions on the repo. So feel free to, that's an async way to communicate with the whole team. So you can go ahead and chat there. Or if you just want to chat with me directly and have a more candid conversation and share feedback or ask questions, etc., that link will let you schedule time with me directly. We'd love to chat with you. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Sean. Very, very cool on that parody. Very exciting. All right. Let's move on to MGT, our Microsoft Graph Toolkit with the one and only Seb Levert.
Thanks, Dave. So we just shipped, I think I actually missed this call to announce the big v3.0, but now we're at 3.01. Our first patch release happened earlier this week. A bunch of fixes to nothing broke in v3. We just improved a couple of accessibility capabilities. We also got a contribution from Nick Brown. So thank you so much, Nick, for testing out and then coming back to us and setting a PR. That's awesome. We're currently working on our MGT samples repository. That's on my to-do for today. We're going to move all of our samples from the repo to this new repo, so it's going to be more discoverable. It's going to be also way easier for you to test MGT in any scenario. So we're really, really looking forward to moving that all there. There's a ton that is happening on MGT. If you want to try the new things, you can always install our next packages. So npm install at Microsoft/MGT at next. And would love to get you in the repo, right? So help us fix bugs, help us suggest features, improve features, build features with us. And we have a ton of help wanted in good first issue. So ak.ms/MGT to get access to our repo. Back to you, David.
Awesome. Thank you, Seb. Well done. Exciting progress. All right. Let's talk about some independent publisher connectors. Joss is out on a well-deserved vacation, but just want to remind everybody there's still an opportunity here to contribute. Very cool way to create these connectors. It's not that difficult. You can connect with her in her lab's participant form, and you'll notice that the independent publishers are a good portion of the total connector. So there's a fantastic community there and an excellent opportunity. Let's talk about some script samples with Paul Bullock.
Thank you, David. So Script Samples is a repository where you can share your PowerShell scripts or Bash scripts with the community. So this supports multiple tooling. There's really no limit, but we focus around Microsoft Graph, PnP PowerShell, so we have Management Shell, CLI for 365, and it all gets integrated with a solution sample gallery to give you that extra exposure as well, so which is super, super cool. And we've got 3 new samples. So 2 of them with PnP PowerShell, so getting storage breakdown, file size, file version, and recycle bin by Reshmi Aklu. We've got a tenant site inventory by Adixio Bahura, and a new sample for involving the Graph PowerShell SDK. So connect to the Graph with either V1 or V2 of the SDK by Andrew Taylor. So that's super, super cool. So if you've got any contributions you want to make or need any help, or if you've got a bulk repository you want to import or something, then feel free to reach out to me. You can DM me via GitHub or LinkedIn, Twitter, whichever you prefer. There's also a badge as well, so contribute to the repository. There's a badge. We've got three levels now because we've got some really cool regular contributors. And I just want to say thank you. You're absolutely amazing, and you're awesome to make this an awesome repository. So back to you, David.
Awesome. Thank you, Paul. And everybody, this is one of the easiest ways to get involved. We all have those utility scripts, so definitely take Paul up. He's a great guy. He will assist you along the way, and you can contribute. All right. Well, we have a plethora of team samples to talk about today, so let's hand it over to Bob German.
Hey, thanks very much. So just so that I could get ready for this, I drank this giant cup of coffee so I could speak at David Warner velocity as I explain all these samples. Never seen so many. First, we have 3 winners from the team's global hack. First, we have a live patient review in-meeting app using the LiveShare SDK to allow medical professionals to review patient cases collaboratively in a Teams meeting. This was the grand prize winner of the Hackfest. We also have a Knowledge Quest bot, which won the AI designation at the Hackfest. This generates a self-assessment test on almost any topic and then administers it to the user along with tracking scores. And another winner was the Guest User Overview, which won the Best Productivity Solution winner. This was written in SharePoint Framework and allows viewing and managing guest users in Teams. But that's not all. We actually got 3 more samples in this week. 2 from Ijaz Hussain. The first one converts documents to PDF and merges them into one big document. And the second one is a bot that uses OpenAI to answer questions about the weather. We all like talking about the weather. Well, this uses the Open Weather API, so it actually knows the weather, and then OpenAI can understand and compose the bot messages. It's amazing. And also, we have another great sample from frequent contributor Anoop Tati at Content and Cloud. who has built an AI-powered personal assistant that uses the Microsoft Graph to answer questions about your profile, calendar, and other aspects of your productivity life. So almost all these samples were built with the Teams Toolkit. We love samples regardless of how they were built, but it's great to see the uptick in Teams Toolkit. And also there's a whole bunch more samples on the way. We're having trouble keeping up. Thank you so much to Rabia Williams for helping test the samples. You can find all the samples at aka.ms/m365/samples. And you can learn about the global hack results at aka.ms/teams-hack-winners.
Good job, Bob. Very nice. Excellent. All right. Let's get to our favorite ending Power Platform samples with April Dunham.
Thanks, David. We have some cool new Power Apps samples to highlight here. So Craig White has a JSON and parse JSON PowerFX function application. So this shows you how you can use those PowerFX functions there to be able to handle JSON inside of your apps. We have Katerina, who has a SharePoint Site Assistant PowerApp Canvas app. And then we have Ashwin, who has a Rijksmuseum sample application, which shows how to do the Rijksmuseum Independent Publisher Connector inside of your Power Apps application. So great new samples from our community members. If you have samples that you'd like to contribute, just go to aka.ms/powerplatform-samples. And if you need help with how to get started contributing, make sure to check out the Sharing is Caring session that we have coming up. But this isn't the only way to contribute. We have other ways that we can contribute as well with our Power Platform Prompt Library. This is a brand new library that's available for you to all contribute to. If you are using some of the new AI features inside of the Power Platform, say AI Builder and the Azure OpenAI service in there, maybe some of the AI connectors, Power Apps Copilot, Power Automate Copilot, Power Virtual Agents Copilot, any of the copilots in Power Platform. We want to see what prompts that you're putting into these tools so you can share those with others and others can take benefit from that. So go to aka.ms/Power Platform prompts to see what we have in there today and submit your samples there of your prompts that you've used. Back to you, David.
Awesome. Thank you. That is an exciting new repo, everybody. So go check it out. All right. Well, what time is it? It is picture time. So let's turn on those cameras so we can see those fantastic faces. I will move over to together mode. Hopefully it'll, oh yeah, it worked fast today. Good. All right. We'll close the chat. We'll start the recording here. Got a couple more rows left. Everybody wants to turn those cameras on. Plenty of time left. Let's get those fantastic faces of the community showing off. All right. All righty, let me move this out of the way. All right. Looking good. Let's give everybody a wave. Woo. Seb's doing the Seb dance. There he goes. I got Bo next to me. Lucky today. All right. Sitting by all the cool kids. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay. All right, everybody. Excellent job. Now, if you have that together mode still always showing up for you after this, don't worry. Just change it to gallery view or whatever you want up in the view. Teams seems to have some sort of a little bug associated to it. So, all right. Well, then let's move on to our amazing all-star presenters of the day. We're going to begin with Nicolò on leveling up your Power Apps Canvas apps with enhanced component properties. So if you'd like to take over the screen, my friend, it's all yours.
Hi, David. Sure, let me share my screen and ready. So, hello, everyone. In today's demonstration, I will introduce the enhanced component property, a powerful experimental feature that can greatly improve the performance and the usability of your Canvas application. I will introduce the benefit of adopting this feature with an example, and then we will understand how it works through a demonstration. Before that, I would like to take some time to introduce myself. I'm Nicolò Ferranti, Modern Workplace Consultant at Avanade, Italy, and through my blog, I report my experiences in the field of Power Platform with the aim of sharing ideas and inspiring new solutions. Below, we'll find my social QR code that you can use to stay in touch. So let's examine a possible scenario to introduce an enhanced component property. Let's assume we need to develop a Canvas app which can manage a product's catalog by custom API. To make the app more maintainable and reusable, we decided to use an approach based on component. And in this scenario, the component has the role to render the list of the products and apply a discount. To develop this component, you could choose to invoke the API within the component using the reset property to retrieve the list of products. and you could use the button to update the product information. Well, I'm considering to use custom connector because, in my opinion, it's more sensitive to changes than a standard connector and can point out the potential problems. Anyway, this approach works, but it has many disadvantages. When developing a Canvas application, we always have to take a look at the HTTP request and avoid overusing them to prevent performance issues. So we need to review this approach and adopt an alternative implementation. For the GET request, you can store in the main app the data and pass it to the component via input property. Instead, for the PUT API, we need a way to move the request from the component to the main app. And a solution could be to fire an event from the component and execute a callback function in the main app to update the product information and then update the store as well. We adopt this solution to prevent the duplication of information between main app and its components. Also, we centralize the entire business logic only in the main app, so it will be more maintainable than before. And in addition to this, we unlock the component from the custom connector dependencies, so the component now has only the role to render the information. But now we have to understand how we can create an event. So now comes into play enhanced component property, and thanks to this feature, you can fire a custom event from the component to the main app. Previously, you could get the same result using toggle control or reset property, but this approach was complicated to manage. As well as the creation of custom event, you can create custom function which contain an expression that return a specific value, and also you can create a custom action to manipulate a collection or a variable from the main app. And finally, we can develop better components with a strong synergy with the main app and optimize the app as well. So let's jump into the demo. During this demo, we'll go over the scenario analyzed earlier to see how enhanced component property works. So let me open my Visual Studio. So to follow the scenario, first of all, I have created a set of API to manage a catalog of video games and simulate the backend's work. This is
hey, Nicolò, just real quick, could you increase the font size a little bit there, just so it's a little easier to read?
Definitely.
Thank you.
It's good enough.
Yeah, perfect, excellent, thank you.
Problem. So this is a .NET Web API project that explores an approach on a minimal API. And to leave the time for the enhanced component property explanation, I will not examine the entire solution. But for the purpose of the demo, it's important to see that we have a simple CRUD operation to work with catalog. We have a post to create a new game, get, put, and delete. So after testing the API and deploying them in a service like Azure Apps Service, for example, we are ready to create a custom connector to make this API accessible for the Power App Canvas. So adaptive custom connector improve the collaboration between a traditional developer and citizen developer. I have already created a custom connector by adding all endpoints in definition tab. And I will not examine custom connectors tab in deep, but you can find API solution and custom connector Swagger in my GitHub repository. Then after you have completed the custom connector test, you are ready to use it in your Canvas app. So let's jump in our Canvas app. This is our simple Canvas app, which can manage a list of games available and apply a discount. This component interacts with the main app by a custom event. So let's immediately see how to create one. And here you can see the component. To make possible the creation of an event, you have to enable the enhanced component property. And to do that, you have to go in setting, upcoming feature, experimental, and looking for enhanced component property and enable it. Now, if we click in right tab, we see different property type. One of the main goals of the last update is to provide clearer and more concise concepts. So some property have changed the name, for example, data. This is the classic property type where you can define input and output property of the component. and nothing new from before. You can create input property to pass data to the component, and you still create output property to expose a data which will be read in from the main app. But more than this property, as you can see, you can define a distinct type of property like function. Function property are property that can accept argument and return a value. At this time, a function does not support data flow, but we can expect it in the future. As you can see, you can choose from two kind of property, input and output. An input function is a way for a consuming app to provide logic to a component, similar a function pointer or a callback function. Instead, the output function is a function defined in the component that takes some arguments and returns a value to the app. Another new property type is action, which allows side effects formula. This is interesting because it enables to reset only a specific control or variable. And to do that, to do this before, you had to use a reset property or some toggle. And in the end, we have event, previously called behavior. I think this is the most important property that you must know to improve your components and your app. It allows to fire a custom event from the component and then execute a callback in the main app to update data. And in this demo, we are focusing on this feature because it's exactly what we need to satisfy the requirements we introduced earlier. So let's see how it works. I have already created a new event custom called invoke discount event, and I defined a parameter called game object selected. We have to consider the parameter excited like an argument of a function, and in this case, game object selected is a record type which has this model. Okay, so now we have to add this event. Invoke discount event to a control which has the onSelect or onChange property. So we can use a button. And if you look at this button, the onSelect property of this button, we can see that I insert the event, okay, and I passed this item as parameter. But what is this item? It's the item that you will select from the gallery, because we have gallery items. So now when we'll click apply discount button, we will fire this event. So now we have to define the callback function. So come back in our app and insert the component, and in the right panel now you can find the event property that we have defined, that we have created. At this point we are going to insert the function which will be executed when the event is fired. And in this case, we are going to invoke the put API to apply 20% discount to the price. And if everything goes fine, we are going to update game list store, which will be used in the entire app by using the get API. So let's try it. And to do that, I'd like to open the monitor to have the full view of the API, and if I click on apply discount of this game, so we can see everything goes fine. If we come back in the monitor, we can see that the put request body, and as you can see, the property of body is populated with the property with the item selected. So now note that we pass also the data through the component via list game. So adopting this solution prevented the duplication of information because we have a store, game list store, available for the entire app, and we centralize the entire business logic and HTTP request only in the main app. So the app will be more maintainable and more performancing than before. But arrive at this point, you might ask why I didn't do the same thing by using a function property, because the function property has to be pure. And to show you what pure function means, I have created a new input property function, custom input function, in the component, and it returns a Boolean value, and it has also two parameters, UPC and price. Now you have to imagine that you invoke this function using a button by the onSelect property. For example, consider this button, Add to Card, and if we expect the onSelect, you can see that we are invoking this function from the onSelect. And now we have to come back in our main app and define the function, that the expression that will be executed when the function is called. So if I click on custom input function, we can see the expression. And however, you cannot use it to change value elsewhere in the app. So it has to be a pure function, and that means you cannot use the update context or a set, and you can't even use patch to update a collection. You can only define a single expression that returns a defined value, as this example. And this functionality finds an outlet in complex components where a given function is called multiple times. And so that's all, and thanks for your attention. Back to you, David.
Awesome stuff, Nicolò. I love the theme. Also, it helps solidify the concepts here. Really good job. Excellent work. Okay. All right. Well, let's get to our second amazing presenter today. Michał is going to cover Power Automate Chrome extensions. So let's give him our attention.
Okay, so let me share my screen. 1 second. Okay, and the presentation. Okay, let's start. So hello, everyone. Thank you for having me on the call. Glad to be here. My name is Michał Kornet, and today I will present the Chrome extension I have created to enhance management and duplication of Power Automate actions. So let's start with a quick introduction round. I'm a SharePoint developer with experience in creating intranets and automating processes for clients worldwide. This particular tool has been developed together with my wife, Olga, who is also available at the call. We are both passionate about Microsoft Cloud Stack and have been involved in numerous projects within the same technology domain throughout the years. Feel free to find us on LinkedIn, or you can visit my personal webpage where we have recently started sharing content related to Microsoft 365 area. So let's jump into today's topic. So we all know how powerful the Power Platform tools are, yet there are some specific challenges we encountered using Power Automate, particularly with the SharePoint platform. Our objective was to create a solution that could address them all in a simple, compact form. So we identify several areas for improvement. For example, creation of missing SharePoint HTTP requests. Let's imagine, for example, search query post request, for example, or limited action portability. So it's not so easy to transfer data between different flows. Of course, we can copy the whole flow, but it's not so easy to copy only some fragments between tenants, for example. Another issue is persistency of action storage. So we can collect actions in my clipboard section, but it's not so durable and reliable way. And the result of our efforts is the Chrome extension with a range of useful features that can enhance our work and hopefully yours as well. So first of all, the extension allows recording actions directly from SharePoint. You can effortlessly record and capture actions you execute manually in SharePoint Online environment, or I have also second method how to record actions, but I will show it promptly. Secondly, we introduced community block integration with a proper structure of code of your page. You can release or from other side consume actions shared by the community through various blocks or other sources. To boost your performance in creating similar workflows, but in different environments or even tenants, we enabled easier duplication of actions you have already defined in your flow. Now we can copy actions between different environments with ease. No matter of source, all the actions you copy are stored using Chrome storage, so you can use them in more persistent way. So it's much simpler than currently. So now we will go through these features in live demo. So let me switch to my Chrome browser. Okay, so I will begin with the base concept which we notify. Simply, currently we have a section which is named My Clipboard. And of course, we can copy some actions inside of it. But what is also interesting, when you copy it using this function, you also copy the code of this particular action to your system clipboard. So for example, when I copy it back to the Power Automate editor, then it's possible to put something in this section. So having this knowledge, we build a solution, the Chrome extension, which can simply get the information from this section and put also actions to this section of Power Automate editor. So our tool is accessible from the toolbar of the Chrome. We are on the SharePoint page, so we have button to start recording the actions. And simply what we can do, it's a simple refresh. And as you can see, we already have some requests which are added, which are invoked by SharePoint on the background. So because we have the simple list web part, then it means that we use, for example, render list as data stream request. I will stop recording now because we have too much actions already. We need only one. Let's imagine that we needed to get only the list items from this list. Another method to get the requests or the actions, it's SP editor. It's also the Chrome extension, which has the PNP.js console section where you can invoke functions and requests from PNP.js, and we can start recording from our tool, and using Control-D we can invoke some requests in behind, right? So the default ones are one request to get the web data, also the request to get something from Graph API, and something from taxonomy. Let me maybe run this one once again. And as you can see, we catch all of those requests here in our tool. So we have the information about web, we have graph call to me endpoint, and we have also a process query, which is corresponding to get data about taxonomy. Okay, so you maybe wonder how to use it in the Power Automate. So simply we need to go to the Power Automate editor, to My Clipboard section, and we need to choose the actions which we would like to copy into the to this section. So we have the second button, copy items, and after accepting this pop-up, we have these actions in the section. So maybe I will show two examples, maybe process query and graph call. So in the process query, as you can see, we have all data filled out. So it's a method, site address, also headers. Some of them are necessary, some of them are from browser. So maybe we can delete them. And also we have information in the body. So it's not so easy to to create this kind of SharePoint HTTP request alone, but yeah, we can simply create it with our tool. The second example is the graph call. And as you can see, it's a different type of action. It's the HTTP action. And again, we have all information filled out. But in this case, please remember that it has like a authorization token, which will be expired in some time. So you need to have it work. You need to make a proper authorization to this action. So let me save it. I need to choose the connection. Let's save it. Let's run the test. And as you can see, everything passed successfully. So yeah, we have here information from the graph call. Another feature of the tool, it's, as I mentioned before, connection with the community blogs. So this one is the example of the article which we have created about bulb usage in the Power Automate. And inside we have some description how to build the flow, also how to configure the each of action. And if your page has a structure like this that has some hidden elements with this particular class, and inside you have a correct JSON of the action, then our tool will recognize that there is something interesting on this page. So using this button, you can copy all actions which are listed, which are on the page, right? So as you can see, we have, for example, variable, we have some switches and so on. And again, we can go to the to my clipboard section of the flow. We go to different tab in our solution, and we can choose again. Let's take the variable and maybe the switch action. And as you can see, we can also copy the whole action. So it's much easier way to copy something from the community blog instead of filling out every text input. Yes, and the same it's with the switch. So more complex actions can be also copied. The last feature, it's about copying actions between different environments. So because we use the storage of the Chrome extension of the Chrome, then we are able to, to create something on one flow, and maybe we don't want to copy the whole flow on different environment on tenant, but we would like to copy only some of the actions. So then when this clipboard action is open, then we can go again to our solution. Let me clear this list. And we have the last button, Get My Clipboard Actions. So we can click it, and then we can copy all actions which are stored in the clipboard, but in more persistent way. So then if you would like to transfer these actions to different environment, so my method is to open incognito window to log into with the different account on different tenant, and then all actions are still there, right? So you can also use one particular action instead of the whole flow. So yeah, let's come back to the presentation. Last but not least, you may wonder how to get the tool. So good news, you can add it to your Chrome browser directly from the store, or follow the guidelines on my personal page. So it's available on Chrome Web Store. You can simply install from here, or you can go also to my GitHub account, and here the code is stored, so you can check it. Also, there is a description what features it has, and also how to build a package manually and how to install it manually. If you find any issues, then please let me know. You can also put some comments into issues section. Okay, so thank you for your attention. Of course, if you have some ideas or concepts, what can be added or improved to the tool, I'm eager to listen to your feedback. So once again, reach me out on LinkedIn or GitHub. And yeah, so that's all from my side. Big thank you for being here with me, and see you around.
Awesome stuff, Michał. This is epic. Everybody's loving it in the chat. Really well thought out. Thank you for presenting this. And thank you to both yourself and Olga, by the way. You said she did some work on this, so we want to show appreciation to both of you. Excellent job. This was Nicolò's and Michał's first demo and presentation on the call, everybody. So I think we want to show them a little extra special love. Really did a great job. So thank you both. All right. Well, the time has come. The Horsemaster is in the stable, ready to trot out with an unforgettable presentation. Right, Chris?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, don't forget it. That'd be great. All right, we'll see if we can. You see that? See me? Wow!
I see it. I see it.
Wow! Great. All right, I'm Chris. Let's talk about some list stuff. It's gonna be exciting. All right, so we head over to our. Oh no! Get out of here. All right, so. Let's get rid of David here. All right, so we're on a Classic Warrior Horses site, and the horses have noticed a pattern in their sleep lately, right? So they've decided to start keeping a dream diary to see what they can do with that and kind of analyze what's going on. And man, I wish I had turned on focus mode. Oh, I did, but I don't know. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're just gonna create a list for that, but we're not gonna call it a dream diary. That's no good for warrior horses. So we'll call it something a little more generic, say nighttime thinks. That sounds good. I'm going to create it without the spaces there so that it creates the URL the way I want it. And then I'm going to go ahead and see that it even knew it for a second there. So I'm going to go ahead and click on it, and we're going to blomp, blomp. I'm not even sure if that's necessary anymore. All right, let's save that. Boom, nighttime thinks. Now for our nighttime thinks, we want to be tracking both dreams and nightmares. All right, so one of the things I've done ahead of this call is I went over to my content type hub. You can believe it. So you have a content type hub too. So it is at you can read that tiny URL. It's a content type hub. So it's at site/content type hub. There you'll find this very exciting site, which really isn't for anything but the content type. So if we go to site settings, we can see our content type gallery here. By going to our site content types, and you'll see there are it's a weird mix we're going to be seeing today in some of these screens of very old school with modern, right? So it's a real mix here. So we can return to classic, but in this case, right, any content types we do here, we can actually publish out to our various sites. There have been a lot of changes thanks to syntax and some other things to make all that work, but this is all included with your standard licensing. So wow, so that's great news. All right, so what we're going to do is we've got a content type I've already created. All right, so if we were to take our category and we're going to filter just so we can see them here, and we'll go to horses. We'll apply that. So I've got this dream content type. I've gone ahead and created. So what I can do is I can head back over here to our nighttime thinks. And when I hit add column, you'll notice I don't have any real options here. But if I go first to my list settings, again, we're going to go to these classic settings. With a mix of our modern settings, we'll go to our classic thing here, go to advanced settings. And we're going to say allow management of content types. And this is kind of what it's saying here. And we're just going to say, okay. All right, boom. Now we go back to our list. And now we could have tried to go the traditional way of adding content types and all that stuff. This is the way you're going to want to do it now, right? So you can add column. Now we've done that, we have this add a content type. So we're going to click that. And now we're going to see all our content types that are available. These are from the content type hub. These do not exist on this site, right? So we can add our dream content type. Now we could just hit apply. It'll add it, but we have a couple other options if we click it. One, we can preview what's in here. Right? We can see exact columns that are in here. And we get these two options. So by default, it's going to add a view that's just going to filter on that content type. I like that. We're going to keep it. And then to save time, I'm going to go ahead and add the columns to current view. If you don't do that, you're going to have to go add them manually, right? So I'm going to hit apply. And we'll wait a second here while it adds that content type and adds those columns to our view. And boom, it says it did it. There we go. Now we've got some exciting columns here. That's great. Thank you. All right. So boom, now we got that. That's cool. And so let's add a dream here. So let's just add a friendly little dream for fun. All right, so we have new item, new dream, which is not quite what we want. We'll come back to that. So we got a new dream here, and we're just going to say this is rainbows and butterflies. That sounds great. And, you know, it was beautiful. Butterflies did stuff. It doesn't matter, right? And this happened tonight, apparently. We're going to dream about this tonight. What were we eating? We had some oats, all right, and we encountered 3 rainbows, and we slaughtered 2 enemies. It was a wonderful dream, and we're going to save that. So that's great. So now we've got one of these. But what if we want to do, you know, nightmares? We've enabled content types for a reason, right? So it's a little arbitrary, but we're going to add a new content type called nightmare. So if we go back to our content type gallery, I'm going to create a content type and call this a nightmare, right? And we'll say, put this in horses, and our parent category is going to be list content types, and we're just going to pick an item. There we go. We're not going to do any fancy inheritance with the dream. All right, so now we've got a nightmare, and we're going to add our site columns from existing site columns. Go to our categories. We're going to go to horses. All right, and now we're going to add some of those same kind of columns we had before, right? So we already have the title that comes from item. So we're going to add vision, and then what else? We have a night, right? So add the night that the thing happened, what snack they were eating. But then we don't care about rainbows encountered or enemy slaughter, right? This is a nightmare. Right? Instead, we want to know how many hooves were severed, right? And were there clowns present? Perfect. All right, so let's save that. There we go. Now we've got a content type. And we're just going to publish that. Go ahead and make that available. Wow! Let's see what we got here. Boom. So now if we go back to our site with our nighttime thinks, all right, and let's see. I'm just going to refresh to make sure. All right, so we refresh, and we're going to say, you know, that same add column menu. Let's click it that way. So we can say add a content type. Where you can see we already have dream loaded, but now we should see nightmare. Woo! So we had nightmare. We're going to do the same thing we did before. I'm not going to add the columns to the current view. That's fine because we already have most of those columns, and I don't really want these shown up just yet. Okay, so here we go. Now we're going to add that. And it's going to add that content type. And one thing we're going to want to do just to kind of clean this up is, you know, I don't want item in there, right? I just want my dream and my nightmare. So I'm going to go back to my list settings, that classic settings. And I'm going to go down here to the item content type. And this is the copy for the list. I'm going to say delete this content type. I'm just deleting the item content type on this particular list. So no worries. All right, so now when I do that, now I don't have that in the drop down, right? I just have the 2 things, dream and nightmare. So that's awesome. So let's add a nightmare. You know, we'll call it a rabbit attack. All right, those dang rabbits, they had saws and said mean things. Those dang rabbits. All right, that's great. And we'll say, man, we were eating some casserole. That probably explains a lot of them. They severed three hooves, but there were no clowns. All right, so we're going to save that. And let's add one more nightmare here, just for fun. All right, and we'll just say date night. Boogo. That sounds great. Gross! All right, we'll call that gross, and we were definitely eating more of that casserole. Or we'll say we're eating some oats this time, right? No hooves were severed, but they were definitely clowns present. All right, so we're going to save that. All right, so the idea here is we've got this, right? So maybe we're going to eliminate some of these columns that are, you know, are specific to a column type. So let's go here and we can hide the column, or we can go, you know, show hide columns, and we'll just do it quicker. All right, we'll just remove those 2 off of there. So one of the things here is it's not very easy to distinguish between these, right? And this is a formatting demo. So let's talk about how we're going to format these, right? So let's come up here and let's format the current view. Now, one of the things we can do is very quickly we can manage our rules here, which is very cool, where we can add conditional rules where we say, like, by default, don't do anything, right? But let's say if it's a nightmare, we want to do something. Well, unfortunately, content type isn't a choice here unless we specifically add it as a column. So for now, we're just going to pick a random one because we're going to swap it out in a minute. We're going to say is equal to nightmare. Obviously, that's not going to do anything because we're not having any titles that are equal to nightmare. But what we're going to do is we're going to say more styles. And let's say no styles. The only thing we want to do is add a border on the left, right? And we'll say nice and thick, and we'll make it this red color. Beautiful. So we save that. It's not going to do anything because we didn't actually have content type. But if we wanted to actually do something on content type, now that we've done that, we can go to advanced mode where we can see it generated the JSON for us with exactly what we want. The difference is instead of linked title, we don't want that. We want it to be content type. So when we preview that, boom. There we go. Now our nightmares have this little red border, so we can easily distinguish them even though we don't have any other columns that are showing that, which is really cool. All right, so we can save that. The idea here is we could rewrite this as Excel style thing, but why not keep their weird operator operand stuff? Because it's easy to update. Now, I could also reference content type ID. All right, so I could put a capital I and a lowercase d in here, and I could reference it by the GUID. Part of the issue with the GUID is that will not be the GUID of the content type from the hub. That'll be the full GUID of the local copy of the content type in your list. Now, you could easily do it like a starts with to do some of that ID. I highly recommend just not messing with that. Just use the internal name with content type. The nice thing is, again, it's not part of the view, and you don't have to add it to the view. It's always available. So, wow. So there we go. There's our additional row class. Very exciting. But let's go a little further. All right, so let's say we want to create a new view. And before I create this, I am actually going to add those columns back here because there's a weird thing with the view I want to add, where it's not going to add those columns unless they're part of the one you copied the view from. So let's see, I'm just going to copy all of those for now. I'm going to hit apply. All right. And one thing also to note is that this column, the site column, had a format associated with this custom format, right, that shows this clown or not. All that came down, and if I update the site column at the content type level, that will get published down. And the publishing usually takes 45 minutes to an hour, although you can go to your content types here and hit update. So just keep that in mind if you're looking for something a little quicker. Again, check out the documentation on that. But okay, so we got this. I'm going to create a new view. All right, so I've got my dream and my nightmare. Those are the views that created automatically, right? And that's what the content type, that was that checkbox. One thing I like to do on these, by the way, is just edit the current view because it bugs me that it's called dream because that was the name of the content type. I just add a little S. It's very minor, but it makes me feel better. All right, so now we've got the idea of dreams rather than dream. All right, so let's go back to our all items view. And now let's create a new view. And we're going to create a board view, right? And we're just going to call this snack distribution because we're pretty sure those snacks have a lot to do with this, right? So we're going to do that based on the snack, right? So what that's going to do is going to create this lovely board view, and it's going to sort everything according to the snacks we were eating or the horses were eating before they went to bed. And it's created these kind of card views, and that's pretty cool, right? We can actually drag these things around. We can say it wasn't oats, it was hay. Right, and that's awesome. All right, it's going to update that snack field, and that's really cool. But again, we don't really have the content type visible here in a way. I'd also want to say one weird thing is this plus button is going to add the first content type, right? So it'll add dream. If you want to specifically choose one, you have to choose it up here. All right, but what we could do is we could say customize card, all right? And we could say, yeah, we want to show all these fields. Now, one thing to note is this empty cells will not be shown on the card, right? So by default, if you didn't fill out one of these things, they're not going to show up here. Now, ours are all required, so they're going to show up. But all that's really doing is if you go to advanced mode, there's a display thing. You could just change the format for that. Okay, so that's going to show all of our things, and that's very cool. But again, we want to make it a little more obvious what's going on. So let's do that. All right, so if we come over here, we've got this idea of our root level has this border, right? And we can say things. So maybe we just want to set a border around this to say when it's a nightmare, let's make it a red border, right? So very similar. That way we can see exactly what's a nightmare and what's not. We can go with it from there. So what we could do is we can add that stuff here. So we've got this idea of classes that are being added. If you want to know more about these classes, we have this lovely grouping. So if you go to our main list formatting site and you go to groupings, so this is a way to sort samples by class. But one of the things I use it for is we list all of them regardless if there are samples or not. So this is a great reference just to see what classes are available to you. As you can see, there's just a whole heck of a lot of them, right? All right, so let's come back here. But that is where we're getting those. I think, yeah, David's got the link. Perfect. All right, so let's come back over here to our website. And one of the things I want to note is some of these classes are very opinionated. Like border radius doesn't just set a border radius. It also turns the border off. So what we're going to do is we're going to just remove that because we want the border. So I'm going to pull that out. And when I do that, it's going to be very tiny. Border radius will now go to 6. Ah, that's terrible, right? So if we really are sticklers and we want it to match exactly, right, we can restore the border radius to 4 pixels to make it exactly that without that exciting class here. That's really all that one did. So now we've got our 4 pixels back, but that takes away the fact that we had no border that we could set. So what we want to do is we want to set that border, right? So we've got a color here, neutral light, right? And if we change that to red, right, now we should see red shows up, and that's cool, right? And if we wanted to change the size of that, right, we can say here and we say border width, And we could say, what, 3 pixels? We can really see it for our demo here. Okay. But the problem is, right, this is not conditional. It's on all of them, regardless of their nightmares or not. So let's change that, right? So we don't want 3 red borders. We want to make that conditional. So instead of putting it right there, let's cut that. And let's convert this from just a plain value to an expression. So the easiest thing to do is just put an equals and then wrap those things in single quotes. And now we can add to that string, right? So we can say plus, and we can say if, and we say blah, 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 content type, like that, equals, right? Nightmare, right? Well, then let's make it that red we talked about, right? And if it's not that, let's put a quote. Then we're going to say, what was that? Neutral. That sounds good. Neutral. So this will be themed based, neutral light. So now if we do that, let's preview. Aha! So now our dream has just that nice gray. So it's very easy to tell the difference. Again, you could go a lot crazy with this, right? You can get some cool icons. You could conditionally show things. You could even fully remove, like have the cards be completely different per content type. This is a quick demo, so we're not going to do all that. But that's, again, this is the basic pattern, though, where you're going to just be investigating the content type and then setting things based on that. All right, so let's save that. And let's do one more thing with this just for fun. And that's that we're going to come over here and, oh, I just noticed it didn't bring our clowns present in as our column format reference. So that's easy to fix. If you ever want to go in there, you just, hey, column format reference, which is what's happening with Snack. But we're going to skip it for now because of time, because I want to show you the other thing here, which is edit the current view. Oh, one quick thing. There's some weird things at the board. Don't hit customize card again. It will kill everything. So don't do that, right? Or save at least. You want to format the current view to be able to get back to that. Okay, so there's a exciting tip. So let's format that current view, and we're just going to add a little thing right up here. And we're going to say command bar props, right? Because we want to do things with that. Say that, and we're going to add a little comma, woo. And we say our commands. And so with our commands, this is just an array of commands we want to apply things to. We reference them with key. This is referencing these buttons up here. So in this case, we care about the share, right? So we don't want people sharing anything but their nightmares, we'll say. That sounds exciting, right? And so the way we do that is we say hide. And right, so we could say just true. And when we say true, the share button's gone, right? But let's do that conditionally. Instead of true, let's put this equals if, and we're going to say content type. We don't actually need the if because we just need it to reference it. So we're going to say content type. Woo! Content type. Right. In this case, I'm actually going to say not equals nightmare. Right. I know that's a little strange. Right. So the reason for that is now we don't have the share button up here. Right. When I click this, I can share because it's a nightmare. But if I click this, I can't share it because it's a dream. And the reason is this is really weird because hide is true, right? So show is false. It's a little weird. So you'll just have to think through that logic. But the idea is we don't have to write a full if statement or anything else. We just need a condition that evaluates true or false. Okay, so let's wrap it up. We're done here. Okay, one last thing here. Again, I mentioned this idea that, so I actually presented on this 4.5 years ago, if you could believe it or not. And at that time, if you added content type, it broke everything. Now it's fine. It's fixed. So don't worry about that. But again, I highly recommend using this, not this, though you can use both. All right, and last thing, go check out the docs. There is a sample that shows how to reference all these things, the content type variations, which will go through that. It also has an emphasis on provisioning and how all that's supported. But again, all of the format and everything goes through the content type hub as well. So it's an awesome way to use it. And that's it. Wow.
All right. Awesome, Chris. Thank you. Let me take a look. Woo. I tell you what, talk about some horsepower. Chris really took the reins there and gave us a wild ride of awesomeness. Nobody? All right, well, let's move on and wrap this puppy up. So you may be wondering how you can engage and ask questions of our amazing presenters today. We have the community calls conversations. So using the Power Users forums over on Power Apps, you can absolutely engage with all of our presenters. All you got to use is these QR codes or the URLs, which I will put in the chat shortly after the call. Go let them know how an awesome job they did. Even that's a engagement. So you don't have to have a question. Just let them know how much you appreciate the work they did. It's a great way of continuing the collaboration and the community spirit and the camaraderie. So perfectly acceptable way to engage with our presenters today. Now, we also have a Discord channel that we've booted up for the community, so you can absolutely get involved there. The link is ak.ms/community/Discord. We want to be like the cool kids, so get in there and get involved. We're building it and going to have a lot of fun in there. It's a great new way to collaborate on a number of topics. We'd also love to get some feedback from you. How are these calls going? Do you like them? What would you like to see us do differently, do new? Even just what it is that you are enjoying about them. It lets our management know how important these calls are, how valuable they are to all of you, so that we can continue to invest and scale and do more within these calls. Well, the recording will be available in 24 hours on the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform Community YouTube channel. You may see that the video is ready to download in Teams. It is a pretty little liar. It is not available to you unless you're a Microsoft employee, so don't try. It'll just end in tears, sadness, blue screens of death. Nobody wants that. But if you go to ak.ms/community/videos and subscribe to all of our YouTube channels, you will be alerted as soon as they drop, as soon as they're available. We will let you know. Actually, YouTube will let you know, but it's our channel, so we'll let you know. You can also follow us on Twitter for more updates at M365PNP, or see the updates on LinkedIn, ak.ms/community/li. The next M365 and Power Platform bi-weekly call, 2 weeks from today, August 3rd. Viva Connection SharePoint Framework coming up next week, July 27th. We're always here for you Thursday at 7 a.m. Pacific. Rain or shine, we're going to be here for you. Thank you, everybody. Excellent presentations today. Thank you all for being an amazing community and engaging. We appreciate everything you do. Keep up the great work. Have a great, wonderful rest of your week and a fantastic weekend.